Let's create a pivotal impact. Hey, everybody, Josh Hannaberry here,
And Avery Hannaberry,
your host of the Truck Focus podcast.
and welcome to episode 100 of the Truck Focus podcast.
Totally. Yeah. Welcome, everyone. Super excited. We just passed, just checking the calendar. Yeah, we literally just passed 365 days since we've gone live with the podcast. We first pre-recorded in December of 2021. We took a little bit to get to a point where we were comfortable sharing. And as you'll hear throughout this interview with Avery and I, just the journey that we've been on and how grateful we are for everyone that's really helped us along the way. It's been really incredible for, the learning opportunities for Avery, for myself, the relationships, the sponsors, and so just super grateful for today's episode.
Yeah, totally, Dad. And just before we start off today's episode, just a quick few things, and just a huge shout out to our today's sponsor, ComplianceBox, and just for how I'm thankful for this awesome mug that they gave us when I met him.
That's right. Yeah. So huge shout out to ComplianceBox. So Truck Focus Podcast is supported by ComplianceBox. ComplianceBox is a tool made by a National Safety Code Auditor that makes generating and tracking important National Safety Code documents in an easy, effective, and efficient way. Highly recommend that you visit them at compliancebox.ca to start your free trial, as well as just looking at all the features that they have to offer. It's pretty incredible watching their growth over the last little while too. But again, like Avery said, huge shout out to ComplianceBox for being our continuous sponsor. It just really means a lot. So Avery, I have to ask, and I think it's a great first question, is how does it feel knowing that we're now recording episode 100?
Oh man, it's kind of, because when you think about it, we've been doing this for a year, and it's just a conversation. It's not, when you think, like, when I do it, I never think about how long is the episode going to be. I never even think about this as an episode. I just think about this as a regular conversation, and just how it's just talking to amazing experts in the industry, talking to you, talking to friends of ours, and just, it's just awesome knowing that we're recording episode 100.
I agree. To us, this is a big milestone, and we've shared it in the past, but when we first started, the goal was 12 in the first year, one a month. And the part of that was, I guess, uncertainty of what the podcast journey would be like. Part of it was time commitment. Part of it was interest levels. So we've obviously rearranged our family schedule a little bit because a majority of our recording happens on the weekend, if not late at night. So it's definitely it's a blast. But before we get too far into the episode, first off, if this is the first time you've ever checked out a Truck Focus podcast, we really do welcome you to our community. We're really community focused, and we really try hard to listen to what our community has to say. So that way, when we're recording episodes, we're talking to guests, we're highlighting industry experts. It's based off of what we feel industry needs, based off of what community has told us. So again, if this is a first time, welcome. To all of our dedicated listeners, honestly, thank you so much. This is a big episode for us, and we just appreciate the fact that you've been here along the way. It really does mean a lot to Avery, to myself. And we're just super grateful for that. So I do ask that you like this episode and share it out, because obviously this means that there's 99 episodes you can listen before. Some really wonderful content. Again, we're really focused in transportation, logistics, and just super grateful for the fact that you keep showing up. So thank you so much. So for today's episode, we thought it was really important to talk about a couple things. So first, we're going to start off with the 3 things that we learned over the last year. And then from there, we're going to give some advice on maybe to people that are, maybe it's not a podcast, maybe it's a new adventure, maybe it's a new career where people wanted to hop on people wanted to take that next step. We wanted to share some advice in that space too. So to start us off with just some of the recaps of what we learned, the top 3 things. Avery, why don't you start us off?
Well, the first thing that we have really taken into just in our minds that we've always thought of is just how much incredible people there are in our industry. And it's just amazing that what they do every day, whether you're driving a truck on the road, whether you're in the office and you're helping a customer. And it's just incredible. Like, I have no words for this. It's just crazy how much, how people are so incredible for what they do in the industry.
Totally agree. Yeah, we've been really fortunate to see, I think, at a deeper level, the just the integrity of professionals in the industry, the fact that a lot of people are community focused. It is a team effort every day, all day. And yeah, there's some incredible people that have been really generous with Avery, really kind to take time out of their day so he can interview them in a youthful take series. But also just, I'd say the appreciation has increased for our family of what professional drivers do every day, what carriers have to go through every day, what suppliers in industry, what they go through to make sure that, yeah, those they serve can stay on the road safely. So I completely agree. There's some incredible people that definitely have impacted us. But there's so many people out there that we haven't spoken to yet. And I'll say yet, because we would love to have just more and more and more of industry on the podcast just to really highlight that. Like there's some incredible kind people in our industry. There's opportunity in our industry. So I'm really glad, Avery, that you got to highlight that. What would you say is the second thing?
The second thing that I would say is that there is a lot of responsibility when being not just a podcast host, whether you're starting a YouTube channel, you're leading a meeting, you're leading a class presentation. There's just a lot of responsibility being the leader of the group. And one of the things that we took into account when doing the podcast is just paying attention to how our guests feel. We don't want them to feel like, we don't want them to be like, how do I say this? We don't want them to feel shy. We don't want them to feel nervous. Well, it's okay to be nervous, but we don't want them to feel like I have to be perfect on this episode. And we just want them to know that it's just a natural conversation. There's no one who cares about what anybody says about us. It's what we want that makes us feel happy, and what we want that makes other people feel happy for what we do.
That's right. And you're absolutely right, buddy. So I think keeping in mind two things. So first off is who is the guest and who are they best going to serve? Those are two really important things. And the fact that you mentioned, we don't want them to feel shy. We want them to feel like it's a normal conversation. We want them to feel like it's just an opportunity for them to really express who they are. So part of our ultimate goal is to make them look like a rock star, because ultimately as an industry leader, you need to have a really good stage of, okay, this is what I can sound like, or this is what I can look like. So we really keep that in mind when we're frameworking the questions, when we're talking about the time of day to record based off of their personalities, and just being really mindful of that. But it's a huge responsibility that we're still navigating through, because I can't say we're perfect, but a lot of it is preparation of the episode. Getting to know the individual, if we don't know them personally, is really important. But then making sure you have the questions that will create a conversation that others need to hear. So there's a want and a need in everything in life. Sometimes it's, oh, I want that. But a lot of times in our industry, there's so much that people need to know. So we're really mindful of the questions that we ask and the structure that we provide ahead of time. So that way the industry leader has an opportunity to be prepared, and that way they feel comfortable and not shy, like Avery said. And nervous is a good thing, but I think it's allowing yourself to be yourself on camera, being yourself in a conversation. So that way, we're really highlighting who that expert is. But we as podcast hosts, we also need to be really consistent with who we are. And that's another really big responsibility, because we all have bad days, and I can be really grumpy after a long day at the office. I come home, it's like, okay, well, who am I? Am I that grumpy person sometimes? Or am I that energetic, high energy, really passionate about our industry person that I'm portraying? Okay, well, that's my accountability is, that's who I want to be. That's who I need to continue to be. So it goes the same for Avery when we're introducing him as a leader in his space. And it's like, okay, so on camera, he loves professional drivers. Off camera, he's bashing it. That doesn't happen. But if it did, it would be like, well, that's pretty controversial. It's pretty fake. So we're not like that, obviously, but it's the mindset of, okay, we need to continue to elevate who we are so we were consistent with the brand that we're building. And I think that's really, really important. And I'd say the final thing when we're talking responsibility is consistency. So it's really easy to say, because we do a lot of our record, like it's a Sunday afternoon right now, we do a lot of our recordings and a lot of our information during the weekends. And okay, that has a lot to do with, like I said before, family schedule, has a lot to do with sleep patterns and stuff. So just being really mindful of that. But I think, Avery, you really nailed it on the head. When we're talking about our guests, don't be shy. Be yourself. And we try our hardest to build that environment. So that way you can feel like, hey, I could rock out in here. I'm going to thrive in this environment. So I think that's super crucial. Avery, what would you say is the third most important thing that we've learned over this last year?
Well, the third most important thing, before we get to that, this advice that I will say in a bit is really really connects this one story when we first started to record the podcast. I remember when we first started to record the podcast, it was late at I think it was late at night, and it was you and I we were sitting in your office sweating our butts off because we were like, oh my goodness, we're doing our first podcast episode, and we've been dreaming about this moment for almost 2 years. And when we finally get to do it, it's just, you're nervous. It's like, for example, I want to go to the NBA when I grow up. And that moment of, when will my name be called on one of those cards? It's nerve-wracking. It makes me it'll make you shake. But yeah, just that story really shows how we have evolved in the podcast space, and just how we've learned to do so many different things from just that one day.
Yes, absolutely. And for those that want to go back to episode 1, 2, 3, you'll literally see the background, or the backdrop behind us is a little different in my office, but literally you can see the sweat coming down her forehead. You can hear the tremble in the voice. And the biggest advice that Avery and I talk about quite frequently in a lot of things is, you can't be afraid to suck at something, because you have to suck in order to become good. And I think that's where a lot of times in just general, people can drop off, in the sense where it's just like, okay, I gave it a month and I'm not good at it yet. It's like, duh, because you only gave it a month. So time, repetition, like it's the rule of 1,000 hours, whatever it is, but it's really being mindful of the fact that, you know what, you just need to be humble. You need to understand your why. Why is incredibly important, because why creates purpose. So when I think about why am I so jacked in this space, it's part of it is I want to really, I would say, yell from the mountaintops in a very poetic sense, just the value of people within our industry. That's part of it. But I also want my sons to grow up knowing the quality of people in our industry and the opportunities in industry, because far too many people, unfortunately, are leaving the transportation industry. And where you start is not where you have to finish. And I'm living proof of that. I have countless friends that are living proof of that, where I started as a professional driver. Then I got into business ownership, and then I got into dispatching, and then I got in health and safety. Then I became a professional driver, all over again. And it's just a continuous cycle of opportunity, but you have to be willing to start somewhere. You have to be willing to say, you know what, this is a starting point. I'm not going to be the best at it. You got to stay true to yourself, true to your why, but also understanding, okay, what is the purpose in this space? And for us, it's like I said, it's to really just highlight the industry, but also really highlight the transportation industry leaders that are in our industry, and really showcase the fact that they're creating a pivotal impact every day, all day, every day, if they're aware of it or not, just by helping people. And we're able to then take their message and really portray it to like literally hundreds of thousands of people. And like, shout out to Curtis, who just joined us from Australia, where it was tough. It was like, Australia, a professional driver in Australia is rocking out. He wants to join us. Like, okay, so what does that mean? Well, we're growing, I guess, the sense where we can be called global. And that really still feeds the purpose, that feeds the why. So I'm just super grateful for that. And then another piece of advice that I really like to give Avery is, when you fall down, you have to get back up. So we all make mistakes. We all, perfectionism, like Avery said, you can't be perfect. It's not about being perfect. It's about trying. It's about giving your best. It's about creating clarity through action. And lots of times when you're doing something new, when you're doing something that's uncomfortable, you're going to fall down. You're going to stumble. You're going to fumble. You're going to be like, you got to get back up. And Avery and I can talk about that from father to son, from best friend to best friend, from athlete to coach. Really depends on the environment. And podcast host to podcast host is, okay, how did I do in that episode? Okay, I stumbled in this area. Okay, get back up. You learn, you grow. But that's another really important thing that we've learned over the last 100 episodes. Literally, we just passed 365 days in this space is, okay, you don't have to go for perfect. And yeah, I love the fact that I have a backdrop now besides a curtain, or I love the fact that I have an upgraded webcam, and I have I'll show it to you for those that can see, but we have an actual mic that I'm converting to, just waiting for a new headset to arrive. Or earbuds, I'm sorry, to arrive. So that way I can get rid of the headset. It's all about progression. But again, it's just like, it's not about me, it's about the purpose and the why and the impact. So again, those listening, really think about your own journey. Really think about the fact that maybe it's going back to school. Maybe you're an adult and you didn't have an opportunity to go to university right out of high school like others do. It's like, okay, well, there's always that opportunity now. But wherever it is, just taking this taking, I guess, our learning opportunities into mind when you're kind of processing through where you're at. So as we kind of pivot now, we talked about the big three. We want to share some advice now too, where we feel it's really important just to continue to be a light in a dark place. And you do that, you get better by being a mentoree or a mentee, I guess. So when you're willing to be mentored, that's really important. But it's also really important that you reflect on the advice given so that way you can appropriately share it through your own language. So hey, Josh here, just a quick interruption for our episode, as I wanted to ask a question. So do you have any ongoing job postings that you need filled, but just are not getting enough traction? So I encourage you to contact us today to discuss how we can bring exposure and candidates to your job postings. Let's get back to the episode. Avery, why don't you start us off with some advice that we've received throughout this entire journey?
Yeah, one of the big key things that we always keep in mind that we've learned over the past year is that don't care about what other people think when trying to do something new. Don't take in mind what will people think of me. This is your story. This is your ending. This is your legacy. You are the one that will choose your path. Don't let anything stop that from getting in your way. And I have a quote in my bedroom where Steph Curry said, "Be the best version of yourself, and you don't have to live anybody else's story." This is your life. This is not anybody else's. This is yours. So you are the one that you're gonna take yourself in a great direction. And then another big piece of advice is that stay true to who you are and stay focused on your mission. Just like how the other advice, this is your story and you want to push forward and you want to keep pushing. And in that journey, there will be pits, there will be mistakes, and every time you fall down, you get back up. You get to learn from those mistakes. And yeah, that's just another big thing that we learned over this year, that when you fall down, you get back up and you just stay true to who you are and stay focused on your mission. And don't let anybody else overshadow what you're trying to do. And the last big piece of advice that we have learned is the world needs more people doing what they love and just creating a pivotal impact. That's always going to be our motto. That's always going to be our saying that's always going to be our attitude. Just this world needs more people to do what they love. We need to get rid of that hate. We need to get rid of that discrimination. And we just need to just focus on what you want to do. If you want to start a successful business, go start a successful business. There will be stops along the way, but you got to push through those stops. And if you want to, like what we're doing right now, if we wanted to do a podcast, we were sweating our butts off when we were first doing it. We didn't know how to do it. But as we are right now, we're at episode 100. We pushed through one full year of doing amazing podcast episodes, of meeting amazing people and just seeing what they do in the industry. And it's just crazy because they're doing what they love. They're not doing what other people are telling them to do. They're doing what they want to focus on.
Huge, buddy, huge. Good job. I'm gonna give you a dab so they can see we're dabbing right now. And it's so true. And I love that Steph Curry quote. We're huge Steph Curry fans. So if you were a Cleveland Cavaliers fan a couple years ago, guess we can't be friends, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we really admire when people are at such a level of excellence like Steph is, can really impact us as quote unquote normal people. I think it's really special. And obviously watching Avery hit his passion moments and talk about things that he cares about, I think it's super powerful. And it's just, again, a big encouragement along the way, but it's really key advice. And I think when we talk about creating a pivotal impact, I don't know, still, we've been saying it for a year and we're trying to get more and more messages out, but I don't know still if people really take into the account their ability to create a pivotal impact or the fact that they are creating a pivotal impact, because I think often we're kind of on autopilot day to day. And I wake up, for myself, obviously eat breakfast, have a shower, all that good stuff, go to work, come home, probably hang out with the kids, do some business, go sleep. And you're like, okay, but in that reflection, I can say, okay, that was my Monday. Who did I impact on Monday? And who who'd I speak to that literally changed the course of their life based off of what I shared, our conversation, the depth of the conversation, whatever it is. That's a pivotal impact. So we really want to highlight the fact that in order to create a pivotal impact and be knowing of it, you have to be intentional and you have to be paying attention to your surroundings. So again, as we launch this episode, as we really continue to communicate out, hey, this is what we're all about, really, we encourage you to keep that in mind as well. Is, okay, how do I create a pivotal impact? Or who am I impacting that maybe it's not a good impact? Not all impact is good. You can always shift. You can always create a good impact, good interaction. So keeping that in mind, we did want to do a couple honorable mentions too. So I apologize if I do not list 100 people, because there's been close to 100 people that participated with us so far, 100 industry leaders, which we're so grateful for. But first off, we definitely want to give a huge shout out to my beautiful wife, which is obviously Avery's mom, Kathy. Just your love, your support in this journey, it really does mean the world. The fact that you're hanging out with our little guy Bentley right now so we can record, it's just incredible. So super, super grateful. And we want to give a huge shout out to Chris, owner of ComplianceBox, who has been our sponsor, which is super awesome, as well as Tina and Gord with JD Factors, who are our sponsors. So super grateful for your trust in our mission and the fact that we can align in such a way that we can proudly advocate for your organization as you as professionals. It really does mean a lot in this entire journey. And some industry leaders that we really want to give a huge shout out to. So my buddy Jeremy, we got Anthony, Oriana, we obviously got Eric, we got Bob and Mike and the team at Pioneer, Sean, Les, Royce, some over the road professional drivers, World of Respect for Shelley, Women's Trucking Federation of Canada, Harris at the team at Liable, Bruce and Chris out in Ontario with Lead Pedal and Safety Dog. Just again, so many people have been so instrumental in our growth and our development. It's just so incredible, and we're super grateful. So some honorable mentions. And again, if there's ever a time where you're like, hey, Josh, hey, Avery, even, do you know someone that helps in this space? Reach out, because we've built such a strong relationship with people across North America that if we don't know someone personally, I don't think it would take too long to find someone, just based off of the rule that everyone knows somebody. So if we could ever be of value to you, definitely reach out. And yeah, honestly, just again, thank you so much for taking the time to check us out today.
Yeah, and just thank you so much for all our new and ongoing listeners that have been with us since the very beginning, if you have. And we just appreciate you taking your time to listen to this podcast and just watching, or I guess listening, or watching if you're watching us on YouTube, just watching or listening to us, I would say, evolve in our podcast and just having a great time, having a great conversation with everybody, and just yeah, and it's just crazy. Just yeah, thank you so much for all the support.
Totally agree. And yeah, we'll start off with those that have been here for the entire ride or majority of the ride. Honestly, just want to say thanks so much. Honestly, my buddy Sean, it means the world to me. Like, I don't do anything based off of vanity. So based off of likes and interactions. But Sean, honestly, when my Instagram and Facebook get blown up because I can tell you're reading and you're watching and you're listening, man, it just means the world. So huge shout out to Sean. But it is honestly to our dedicated listeners who are really vocal advocates for what we're doing, because that really does encourage us. We're human. We have moments where we have to question ourselves and check ourselves, and we're full of self-doubt, and we're like, oh, I don't know if this is worth it, or, oh, what are we doing? And then you realign, we fell down, we get back up. But it's because of the dedication, and it's because of the feedback where it's like, okay, yes, our industry leaders are getting portrayed in the way that's helping create a difference. That's what it's all about. So thank you so much just for your continued dedication. And honestly, here's to 100 more. We're not stopping by any means. We have a huge 2022 ahead of us with just some changes. We're going to start doing some lives. We're going to start doing some virtual conferences still until we can coordinate some in-person stuff. But there's some other things in the works that this opportunity has really presented itself. And it's because of yourself, honestly. Like, credit to you. We're so grateful, as well as to those that are new to our community. I can't say it enough. Thank you and welcome. And if there's anything that I can do, or Avery can do, or our team at Truck Focus can do to add value into your life and your journey, please reach out. If there's an industry leader that has been on the podcast that you're wanting to get in contact with, same thing, please reach out to them directly. Reach out to myself. I'll do a soft introduction. Or if there's an industry leader that you're aware of, that you're like, hey, you need to showcase this person on your podcast, same thing, please reach out, because that really is important for us. And yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning, please like this episode. Please share it out. We do believe that other people need to hear what we're doing with our mission here at Truck Focus Podcast. And yeah, just again, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Yeah, and just remember before you leave us to the episode, if you got it, a truck brought it. And always, let's create a pivotal impact.
Bye.
Bye.